Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to do a couple of marker illustrations. I thought they'd be kind of fun to share and just time lapse them. And these took me about an hour and a half to do both of them. So about 45 minutes each, give or take. You know, this first one's a little bit more complex, so that one probably took me a little bit longer. I didn't really pay attention because I was just kind of in the groove drawing. And I used my Sketchbook Floozy template to cordon off this page into 4 different sections. I only got 2 done. My thought was I was going to do all 4 with different food illustrations because it's Inktober and I was going to do all of this art, but I really flaked out on Inktober. I gotta say, it was quite disappointing, but I had a lot going on, so I'm not mad at it. I'm not disappointed in myself, honestly. I'm fine with it. But yeah, I was definitely planning on having a lot more marker art done this month, but it just was not in the cards. So for this sketch, it doesn't go with a prompt or anything. I was just kind of drawing what I felt like drawing. This is a mocha pot, and I'm doing it in different shades of gray here. And the markers I'm using are the OLO markers. Now, OLO reached out to me and asked me if I would review their markers, and I've had them for a couple of months, and I've done a few illustrations that I've shared on Instagram using their marker paper, but I wanted to use them in the marker paper that I'm most comfortable with, and that would be the Uhuhu sketchbook that has the black, it almost has like a fur type texture embossed into it, hardcover book. That one I find blends really well, and I thought it would be a good for me to use it on that a couple times before I finish my review, because like I said, I'm more comfortable on that paper. I've used almost all my other different brands of markers on that paper, so I can really see if anything feels different to me about these markers than other markers. So if you're not familiar with OLO markers, they are a marker system that has been around for maybe 2 years. It's not that old of a brand, but basically what you have is a system where you purchase 2 half markers and then you screw them together to make your own double-ended marker. And you could do like a brush and a chisel of the same color. You could do 2 brush markers of different colors. You could do 2 chisel markers of 2 different colors, or they have handles that you could attach if you don't want a double-ended marker. There's a lot of different options, so it lets you make kind of the marker of your dreams. And the other notable thing about it is that instead of having a felt pad on the inside of the marker to hold the ink, it's actually just loose and sloshing around in there. So that was that piqued my curiosity, and I was wondering if the ink would flow a lot faster than a typical alcohol marker and if you'd use it up a lot quicker. But I haven't noticed a difference. If I didn't know that the ink was liquid in there, I wouldn't notice it to be any different acting than my other markers. The one difference I would say is that I chose a black marker that was a chisel tip, and I put its own handle on it because I got that one specifically to do backgrounds, which I prefer to do with the chisel tip, and to do lines on watercolor paper when I'm going to be swatching, because I find that my typical black alcohol ink markers need to be re-inked a lot, and they take I'll be drawing my lines and they don't recover as quickly as I would like. And I do find that the OLO markers do recover quicker if you're coloring a large area or making long lines and stuff. But there's a little valve in there that keeps the ink from sloshing out really fast, so it acts like a regular marker. So I don't think you have a big learning curve if you're used to markers like Copic markers or whatever. The nibs are the kind of neoprene foam rubber nibs like the Copic have, like the Blick Studio, like Altenew. I'm trying to think what other ones have that foam rubber. You know, the nicer brush tips that don't tend to fray, which is nice. And they, for price wise, each marker half is like a refill is around $2.69, I think. But if you're getting like a brush nib, one with a brush nib end and a cap, then that's like $4 something, and the chisel end, I don't know. They're either side of $4, I think, depending on which version you're getting. So what I chose to do was to get brush tip markers, but I got one marker, instead of having it the same color on both ends and having a chisel and a brush, I did blending duels, I guess. I tried to pick blending partners, and that's how I selected the colors that I have here. I have 29 markers yielding 58 colors in this nurse's clipboard box, and they fit. I mean, they just fit. I couldn't have planned it better, because I don't keep my clear or my black marker in there. I kept those separate. And that worked out pretty well, actually. I didn't even plan it that way. I already had the nurse's clipboard. I picked it up at Target, but you can find them on Amazon. They're around $10. Any office supply store should have them, and they're basically a clipboard with that's like a thick compartment in there, and it's clear so I can see the colors that I have. So I would say that if you're going to do something like this where you're doing blending pairs, Probably the best storage you could have would be like a tray, so you can see both caps at the same time. Otherwise, you'd only see one of the colors if it was in like a regular marker storage rack. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. I think probably the biggest benefit to this would be the fact that you can have two different colors in your marker, so you could make your own blending combinations and go that way with it anyway. But I found working with them, they were pretty nice. I'm doing my fine lining after I do the marker work. That's how I tend to work, just because I'm always redrawing and scooching edges and refining as I go with the markers. So a lot of times I'll sketch in with a really light marker, and like a cool gray 0.1 or 0.5 or something like that, something really light. And then I will, as I get more confident with how my drawing's going, I'll add in the darker colors. And then at the very end, if I feel like I need more definition, then I'll use a fine liner. And then after that, if I feel like I need like a little bit more body of color, then I will go in with some colored pencil, maybe even a gel pen if I need the sparkle. But that's how I tend to go when I'm doing marker work in general, because I find it just, or unless it's something really complex and I want to sketch it on scrap paper first and then transfer it onto my good paper with a light box or something. But other than that, I really prefer to just kind of start in with really light colors until I've got my sketch down. Then I will go in with the darker colors and add in my darkest values, and then I kind of fill in from there. But this was really a fun sketch to do. These markers worked fine on this paper. I'll have a full review on these with pros and cons and everything in case you're thinking about buying these markers. The nice thing is they are available at different retailers now, because when they first came out, it was like a Kickstarter and you had to get like the whole set, or you had to make a really big investment before you knew if you really liked the markers. Now you can buy them one at a time, either on the OLO website or on, I know Blick has them. So it does make it more affordable. It's like you can test the waters, and I do like that you can just buy the colors that you want and put them together and make your own custom blending set, because I think the space saving ability of this is what is, for me, the thing I would use it for, the more unique thing about it. Not that I wouldn't love to have all the colors, but this is a really nice way to go for me. I think if you do get all the color, I don't know, you could do whatever you want. Personally, I like the idea of being able to have them flat in a little case like this that I can use. I can actually set the case on my lap and draw and still look through the plastic and see what colors I have. So it's just kind of, I don't know, less overwhelming than having a huge set of markers. But the price wise, you're going to spend as much for a handful of these markers as you would a larger set of an Ohuhu or a different budget set that has those large packs. You just got to decide what you want and what's going to best serve you. Do you want to have a simpler, more streamlined approach? Do you want to have all the colors? Do you have space? Are you going to store your markers vertically in a rack? I don't think doing it like I'm doing it would be best for putting them in a marker rack, because you can't see half your colors. So yeah, it's up to you. I think they're pretty well priced. I don't love that you have to buy a cartridge when you want more ink. You can't just refill it from a bottle because of their valve system. There's no way to get the ink in there. So I don't love that, because it is just 2.5 milliliters of ink in each of those cartridges. And then there's a plastic, it's in a plastic thing, and there's no way to recycle that as of yet. And we all know how plastic recycling is in most districts in this country. It's not that great. So versus like a 25 ml bottle of ink from some brands. I know Copic has really reduced their size of ink. Ohuhu's ink is small too. But like Blick Studio and Altenew, they have nice like 25, 30 ml bottles of ink, which is, in not a really thick plastic container. So I kind of give an edge to that. But really, at the end of the day, it really just goes with what's important to you. And there's lots of different options. And I really think that if you are going to invest in some markers, you want to make sure that they are going to be the best choice for you. And that could be different than the best choice for me or somebody else you're watching reviews of. You got to figure out what's going to work with the space you have, the budget you have. And, there's not one best brand that's going to be best for everyone. I do see a lot of people that were Copic devotees going over to OLO Markers. The ink quality seems great, but you know what? I think the ink quality is really good in Altenew and Blick Studio and Ohuhu. So, the nib quality is good here, but I mean, it's, you just have to, you want to figure out what's going to be best for you, basically. But I have no qualms working with these. They've been nice to work with, especially this has been a very stressful month. If you watch my sat chats and, you know that my dad's been in the hospital, so it's been a stressful month, and anything that can make my art a little less stressful is definitely welcomed. And there's a picture of the finished artwork. I think it's super cute. I really like how that came out. And I decided to also just sketch a lollipop. I thought that would be kind of fun, and it was fun and easy to do this. I did use my little flat compass there, the straight edge on it, to draw the lollipop stick. I'm not that great with straight lines, to be honest. And I'm using this is a call erase pencil. I like to use these for sketching in my marker artwork, in watercolor too, for that matter. The reason I like this over other colored pencils is because the call erase pencil isn't very waxy. It doesn't put out a ton of pigment. It's easy to cover up with the marker, but it doesn't like clog up the marker. Like a really soft, heavy application of colored pencil will like dissolve into your marker nib and clog it up, make a mess of it. And you don't want to risk your more expensive nibs for sure. Now here we can see the blending marker in action as it erases the part of the stick that I forgot to, that was there and I just colored over. And I thought, what the heck, I'm going to do my highlights in the wrapper while I'm at it, and also bleach out some of the lollipops so I can have some highlights there too. Worked great. And I think it works really well on this OLO marker pad. I do find that that's it's a really nice paper to use if you like to blend. The OLO marker paper was really good too. It's just super slick, and since I know I like to use colored pencil over top of my marker a lot, I like something with a little bit more tooth. And something that blends rather than layering as much. So I tend to go to a more blendy paper than a layery paper. Like the OLO paper that recently came out, the bleed proof paper, that's more of a layering paper, kind of like a render cardstock. And I would say the OLO paper kind of acts like that, except there's not so much shift because it isn't a bleed proof paper. You got to put something behind it when you're using it. It is going to bleed through to the backside. Again, it's just like markers, like what I was saying before. It's not there's one best paper or there's one best marker. It's what's best for you. What are you going to use that's not going to feel cumbersome, that's not going to feel too precious, that's going to work with the way you like to work, and what's going to feel comfortable in your hands. These markers are made with two markers that you screw together to make your one marker, and I've had people say that they've come unscrewed on them, and I think it also depends on how you hold your marker. To me, I didn't have a problem with that, but everybody's a little bit different. And that's why I like it if you can just buy a single marker to try it out to see if it's something you're going to enjoy. And most of your better markers will have open stock availabilities, and even some budget markers are getting into the open stock market, which means you can just buy one marker, see what you think, and then go from there. A lot of brands will have like the clear blender markers in like 3-packs, so that's kind of a safe bet. You could always grab one of those and see how it feels in your hand. And I'm talking about, if you wanted to, if you're considering like OLO or Blick Studio or Altenew. Altenew is a great option as well. I think if you're going to invest in a more pricey marker, you want something that you can refill and that you can replace the nibs, especially for those really important colors that you use a lot. And there's nothing wrong with getting a set of budget markers and then buying the colors that you use a lot in a better quality marker. You can mix and match. They all work well together. I don't find a huge difference in the ink qualities between the different brands of markers I have. So, and I use all kinds. I do like a neoprene nib when possible, and these OLO markers do have that, which is really nice. But it's not, it's not a deal breaker for me. The fiber tip nibs are all right as well. They just will tend to wear a little bit quicker, but it's not the end of the world. Now here I'm doing my fine lining at the end again because I do prefer to do the fine lining at the end. The stick got a little fuzzy because of all the ink I had, all the layers of ink I had. It was kind of a little oversaturated, I think. And I'm just kind of, I would say fine lining in certain areas. I don't fine line everything a lot of times, just places where I want a little extra definition and I want to crisp things up. And I decided to outline the border of this as well, just to give it a little bit more definition. And like I said, I just originally marked that off with my Sketchbook Floozy Universal Template. Those are really fun to get a few sketches on one page for, making quicker sketches that aren't so precious that you can do in a shorter period of time. And I'm using this Prismacolor white pencil because it's nice and opaque and soft for highlights. And there you have it. You can have a look at the two artworks again on the screen if you want to see them in a little bit of a more close-up fashion. And it was a lot of fun. I'll have a full review on these OLO markers in a week or two. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.